Well, I'm Sarkeck, an ex-radio officer from Merchant Navy, and at presently I'm known as Guru Sarkeck, and I'm going to tell you about this particular place known as Sundarban Farm, where this temple of Shiv Shakti is constructed in the year 1994 in the month of July. Well, this place has a lot of significance in the religious way. At this particular point, our Nag Devta, who is known as Guru of all the Devi Devtas, I mean to say, there are, according to Hindu mythology, there are 33,000 crore of gods and goddesses, and their guru is Guru Nag Devta. So Guru Nag Devta used to come and worship goddess Durga at this particular place known as Satyun. Satyun means the place where the Sati used to stay, and Sati is, according to the mythology, the wife of Lord Shiva. How I got transformed is a way long back happened. When I was in second, the thing started at that particular time. I used to recite certain prayers from Durga Shakti, which at that particular moment was something unknown to me, but somehow I used to recite them. But in later stages, when I was on ship, at that particular time also certain things happened with me, but I wasn't knowing that these things are leading me towards something else. It was in the month of April 94, the first when I happened to experience the extraterrestrial, or you may say something like supernatural power had come into me. That was in April 23rd. Thereafter, I went into trance for 3-4 days. I came out of the trance, and then it was later decided that the temple has to be built out here. So, according to the mythology, everything has to be done according to the time and nakshatras. So on 10th of July, we started constructing this temple, and within the span of 10 days, we completed it. And on 27th July, morning 10:40, we had installed a linga inside, in the form of, in which we worship as Shiv and Shakti. With this, there are so many other Shaktis installed inside. In this modern world, where laptop and computer and the world of satellites, if we go back into the olden days, so it looks something very idiotical, because in this particular era, where science has a meaning, where work has a meaning, but theology has no meaning. Since I, being an ex-science student, I take things in totality. I try to analyze things where science and our theology, they interrelate each other. It's all a matter of understanding how you interpret a thing, because a man always tries to interpret things according to his own thinking, whereas the life is entirely different from the theory. And similarly, theology is also entirely different from theory. What we read in books, what we experience is something different. My experience is something that this is the place where God and goddesses reside, though they reside in every place. There is a shlok in Sanskrit that God has a place in sand, stone, air, fire. So similarly, what my experience is that when we know, if we read scriptures also, in scripture it's written that so and so saint went into the mountains. Why they went into the mountains to meditate? It's because God and goddesses used to live in mountains, in the nature, and where everything was pure, serene, calm, and beautiful. You need an atmosphere where you can sit and meditate, and that place cannot be in the heart of Bombay or Delhi. For that you have to go into the woods where you can find peace and pure air and purity, and the environment around you should also be pure, where people are around you pure-hearted. So my experience with the nature, with the powers of God is something different. See, I go into a trance. Since I am a guru of goddess Kot Kali, who is known as Nagar Koti. Nagar Kot is in the hearts of Kangra, and goddess Kot Kali is known as the goddess supreme, who among all the goddesses is having the supreme powers. And goddess Durga Kali it's known as when she becomes angry, she takes the form of a Kali. And I am guru of that goddess Kot Kali. Guru is something via medium between a god and a man. My job has not changed since when I was on a ship. I was a radio officer. I was a via medium between a port and a ship, and between two ships. Similarly, here also the name and terminology has changed. Here I am known as Guru. Guru is known as Guru also. And here also I am a via medium between a human being and a god. How I function here is, the first day of a Hindu calendar is known as Saja. It's different from the Gregorian calendar, first day of a Gregorian calendar. So Saja comes somewhere around 13th, 14th and 15th. So on that day I sit in the temple, I sit on my gaddi. Gaddi means a place where I am supposed to sit or you may say in throne. I sit there. Then after doing a certain prayers, I go into trance. At the time when I go into trance, the goddess, she'll enter into me, and any human being whatsoever, from whatsoever religion or a place, can ask questions irrespective of any other point, and that question will be answered and the person will be satisfied. Even a person whom I do not know even for a second or a day, if he comes and questions something, he is also answered, and he has been satisfied by the goddess. During the time when I am in trance, I am not I am what I am at the moment. At that particular moment, my body is there, but the soul which is speaking will not be mine, it will be of goddess. Or else I can interpret it as goes as, since you must have read about prophets. So what they used to do? They used to prophesy. The same thing is today in our culture, in Himachal. You see, there are temples. I became good after 6 generations. 6 generations before, there was a elderly man in our family who was known as late Mansanan. We call him Mansanan because Nan means an elderly person. In between 6 generations, the gaddi became empty. So after 6 generations, I got the honor to sit on that. It's not because I wanted to sit or people wanted me to sit. It was because our family god, Domeshwar Devta, wanted that way. So things started happening, and it took about 12 years and 11 months before I was made to sit on that gaddi, or you may call it a throne. There was a ceremony. The way in kingdoms the crowning ceremony is done, similarly for us also the crowning ceremony is done, where sacrifice is also used, and I was made the guru of Sarkeck. And the Sarkeck is not a very small family of Dalan. Officially we are 64 household families. In totality if we see, so it must be around about 600 people in Sarkeck family. But I am not only of Sarkeck, but for others also I am serving as a guru. In village land there are 3-4 other families are also staying there, huge families, and we are basically linked with the Domeshwar Devta temple at Sult at Thanedar, district Shimla. It's a huge area for which we have to look after. Basically, in this modern era, it's very difficult. It was very difficult for me also to accept things at certain point. But the way the light came, it made my thinking change. I really got transformed into a good human being. Whereas when I was a radio officer, I used to drink. I used to be just like any other mariner. loitering around with so many things. You also know what kind of a history a mariner might be having. But today I am totally transformed. It's not because I wanted to transform myself. It's because the light came, I was blessed, and moreover, I must say it's not that for the purpose of self-praise. Gurus are the chosen ones, and the chosen ones can only become prophets. It's not, if I say I'm a prophet, then also it won't be negative, since we also prophesy. In the month of January, we call our according to our Hindu calendar, comes the month of Magh. So on Makar Sankranti, our god and goddesses, they leave for heavenly abode. They go and visit the darbar of Lord Shiva, and similarly, according to their own particular days, they come back. So goddess Kotkali, though she is all the time present everywhere, but according to the custom, on the 15th of local day of Hindu calendar of Magh month, we sit on a gaddi, and then we do ahvan of goddess Kotkali. After that, the goddess Kotkali will prophesy what is going to happen today or tomorrow, and similarly in this year what kind of calamities we are going to face. All will be told to the people at that particular moment. So these things, if we say, is only a what we mean by this. We mean that at that particular point something is being prophesied. So a person who is prophesying, a person whose body is being used for the purpose, if you call that person a prophet, then it won't be wrong. But as what has happened before is same today. Today if we say something, it will be taken as blasphemy or something, or vice versa. But tomorrow when we are not here, that day our names will be written in the golden letters, and will be said, so and so was the reincarnation of so and so. But why not? It happens during the lifetime. It can happen, but it cannot also. It has both the meanings. Since a coin has two sides, head and tail, and both have a meaning. So if today you accept or you don't accept, it makes no difference, because everything what we do, what we say, what we did and what we are going to do is predestined. Like so many people I tell, when they say, see, you were a radio officer, you did your schooling from convent, and still you are following all these traditions. So I must say that Lord Buddha, he was King Siddhartha, but then today, the day the light shone upon him, the day he was blessed, the day he got the knowledge, his life transformed. Similarly, my life also transformed way back in '94. I must tell you the significance of this temple. You see, This is for you made of brick, iron and stone. And outside this, one idol is of wood. But it's just not a mere wood, iron or a stone or a brick. The way I said earlier, there's a shlok in Sanskrit, Eko Dev Sarvateshu Gur Sarvavyapi Sarabhutantratma Karmadi Sakshi Cheta Kevalo Nirnach. It means that the God and His powers are everywhere. Then why we require a temple at a particular place? It's because there's a saying that you just can't find God at every place, because as a human you have certain barriers. Your mind will flow, and it's very difficult to control your mind. So for that reason, and similarly the way directly a child cannot go to MA or cannot do post-graduation, he has to go to a nursery school. So these temples, they are just like a nursery school for a devotee, where he sits and he does his prayers, and those prayers are fulfilled. Why? It can be done at his own house also. Of course, if he prays wholeheartedly, his prayers are accepted in his house also. But there are certain temples, like everybody can't pray. People don't know how to pray. A common man thinks his voice can reach the heavenly abode only if it is done in certain manner. No, of course, that's true also. Certain rituals you have to do according to scriptures only. But generally, if you pray, you may pray anywhere. You can sit anywhere. It will be followed. It will be accepted. And one more thing I must tell you, you just can't construct temples wherever you feel like. There's a thing, there is significance of a place is also counted. And certain dimensions, these are very scientific things. Because if we think about magnetism, how magnets work, then you must be aware a magnet which is not powerful will not attract. A powerful magnet will always attract. Like we see in motors, how a motor works. It's because of magnetic powers, magnetic flux created in between the wires, which rotates the rotor. Similarly, here also, when we sit in the temples, we do certain rituals and we create a magnetic flux inside the temple. These idols are magnetized then. If we call it in a scientific manner. Scientific form says any idol is just a piece of metal or stone as long as it has not been installed in a proper manner. Like we call, in our terminology, we call it pratishtha. Pratishta means with certain mantras, a life is put into it. And once an idol is been installed inside, then we have to follow certain rituals and certain norms we have to follow. So like there are people, forget our people, because what I have experienced, I know better. What others have experienced, they know better. But to interpret certain things which you haven't experienced, that is only the truth. So even I, in my early stages, like the way my upbringing was done, so I had my own thinkings. So I also started fiddling around with the nomenclature, the custom, and it was at that particular moment when I came to know that these idols are just not idols. They are not made of stone, brick, or any other metal. Because if you say, see, a poison, if you take a poison, that is going to definitely kill you. In spite of your faith that after having a poison you won't die, still you will die, because poison is meant to kill. Poison has got its certain powers. Similarly, these idols have got certain powers. If we defy them, its function is not stopped. What role it has to play, it will play. The role of a God, by our mere saying that God doesn't exist, that doesn't mean that God doesn't exist. God was there, will remain, and if we say, prove God, that God is there. A person who doesn't want to see, then even in front of him, if there's a sky, there's a mountain, he'll say there's no sky, there's no mountain. But a person who wants to see will say, yeah, I can see the mountain, I can see the sky, I can see the building over here. So similarly, if we say, show me the God, God is everywhere. To see the God, only thing what we have to do is, we have to open our eyes, our spiritual eyes. Every human being is having eyes. But in spite of having an eye, we are still blind. We are blind because what we are seeing an outwardly world, not what is beyond that world. We are not trying to see that. The moment we try to see beyond that, we find that there is something else, the truth, which is so pure, and that truth is itself, that is only the God. God is just nothing, it's the truth, it's the fire. I, being an Hindu, I worship idol worship. But the other person who is not a Hindu will say, see, you are worshipping an idol. Every person is doing some kind of idol worship, but is not accepting it. And if we see in totality, if we go into the scriptures, Hindu scriptures, they totally tally with approximately, I can say 95% of the things, they are the same what it's been written in the Holy Bible, Old Testament, which is being followed by Christians, Jews and Muslims. Certain rituals are there which we Hindus also follow. or we can say our culture is being followed by them, or their culture is being followed by us. Because there's a saying in, there's a verse in Bible. The first congregation which took place in Antioch, where the preachings of Jesus the Christ were spoken, they were known as Christians. And in that same Holy Bible, if you go back into the Old Testament, in the early chapters, you'll find that there were people who felt that they prayed against in front of the God and said, "Oh Holy God, you give us powers to construct huge buildings." The God said, "So shall be done." Or else in Sanskrit you can say Tathastu. And they got the brain to build huge buildings. Then they started building the temples. Then the architecture of a dome was created. When they thought that they should build a temple whose roof should touch the sky. So according to them, no matter that roof cannot touch the sky, but still you can make it so high that it may look like as if it's being touching the sky. And same day they were said, "So shall be done." And the same architecture occurred. After that, after a few years they said, "Okay, well, let us spread all over. We should not understand each other's language." And that is what has happened today. We don't understand each other's language, and the chow of religion has taken place. Which I would like that same thing, certain things one must know when we are at the place where a holy temple has been created, and this is the story behind how I become a guru and how the temple was created here, and the significance of this place also comes into the picture, where I meditated. I stay here for 8 months, 10 days like a hermit, and certain powers were blessed upon me. And today, at this particular place, I'm trying to help mankind solve its religious problems, to understand the religious chows, and to lead a proper life. A proper religious life is a life which is pure, where you think that you have to serve mankind, and that is what our religion, no matter it's written in Quran, Bible or Hinduism, in all the religions, the basic concept is to serve the mankind with purity, with pure thoughts, and to create a brotherhood. That is all what I can say right now.